the show is back after a year and a half away. Just got to give a big shout out to Andy No for getting the word out.
Wonderful guy.
And mentioning that you're in the co-host seat. So thank you, Andy. I did not know that you were connected to somebody with a Antifa RICO crime, whatever the hell that is, whatever that means.
So I'll tell you what Andy was trying to say about me. He was trying to say that I work closely with an SPLC employee who was arrested at the Cop City protests, Stop Cop City protests. This gentleman to which he's referring is someone with whom I have never had a conversation in my entire life. But I also don't disavow him because I've heard he's a really great guy. I just find it funny the degree to which Andy is willing to bend reality in order to try to turn me into a terrorist or to turn you into some sort of radical. He is fundamentally an op in the sense that he was just walking around and they needed somebody to make an equivalence between Antifa and white supremacist terrorism. And he was the guy. He was the dumb kind of fool who just walked right into it and made the money that he made doing it.
And it hasn't really stuck. I mean, you don't see him on Fox News anymore. He seems to largely have been snubbed by Trump world. If they took him seriously, they'd give him like a government position or something. But instead, they're just like, just keep, making your little Twitter posts. That's great. We love it. We love that. And the Antifa thing hasn't bore any fruit. I mean, you can only sound the alarm that a wave of anti-fascist terror is about to sweep the nation for so long before you have to do what he apparently has done, which is just switch into doing race-baiting headlines of being like, check out this random trans person who has been arrested. Check out this random immigrant who did a crime. Check out this random black person.
Well, no, it's not a random black person. He'll say a black male, like the way you would refer to like a dog or something. It's actually, it kind of really creeps me out. If you remember, Andy there's a lot of these guys who kind of just make their bread, like kind of running into protest things, filming it. But he doesn't do that anymore because he's too afraid of getting punched. So it's always like, he's like, breaking, and it's like the video is shot by like BG on the scene or like whatever.
Yeah, and the video is like 3 hours old. It's like
breaking. And also the most interesting thing about Andy was that there was a lot of speculation that he got his chin amplified, that he turned himself into kind of like what looks like a marionette puppet or something by adding a block to his chin to make it more masculine.
I hadn't seen that.
It's never been proven.
I just remember when he suddenly picked up a British accent.
Thank you, Chairman Cruz, Ranking Member Hirono, and members of the committee. Antifa is not a myth.
That's right.
I just remember there was some like media thing he did. I forget if it was a podcast or a TV show where he went so far as to get the little dainty like cup of tea with him and stuff. And I was just like, okay, this has to be.
You're missing the best part. The cup appeared to be completely empty.
That should be, I mean, whatever his quote unquote reporting says, that should be about it. Because people who lie about stupid stuff like that, they're full of shit on everything else. Unfortunately, I think we have to start the show this week talking about something really tragic. Last week on Thursday, there was a school shooting in Nashville.
Right.
This one was a bit different in that the kid, and 17, so I'm going to call him a kid a lot, walked into the school with the apparent motivation or the apparent intention, I should say, of committing a mass shooting. He failed in that respect. But shortly after the shooting, when I was looking around on it, something seemed weird about it, so I started looking into it really early. People in these, it's not even like far-right internet communities, even though there's a lot of far-right politics in them. They're just like hyper-violent, it's almost hard to describe without getting derogatory myself, right?
Sure.
They correctly identified who this kid was hours before the police said anything about his identity.
How did they do that?
It seemed like they knew who he was.
It's amazing. That's amazing. Actually,
it seemed that he was a member of some kind of Discord community that the people that initially posted about this were also in, and had posted something in there with a link to a manifesto and a few other things, like right before he started to do it. They seemed to recognize it as soon as it hit the news. They were like, "Oh shit, he actually did it. Oh my God, he actually did it." Also, hours before the police confirmed his identity, and I have no fucking idea where they got this, they had a photo of his ID. Like, they were like,
wow.
They're like, "This is who he was." And it's...
Can I stop you to ask a question? Would that be because like you had to verify your identity on Discord?
I have no idea.
Because I know there are some Discords where it's like, in order to, prove that you're a real person or you're a person of age, I think they have to do that.
I don't know how they got it. It's also possible that this was part of the little package that he left for them, right? It's like, here's all my stuff. Go tell my story because you guys also love this shit. So I was looking through this manifesto like early on. It had a big list of social media accounts in it, like 20-something accounts. I was going through some of those, archiving them, and very quickly came to the belief that this was legit. And it pretty much sealed the deal for me when I got to a account on the live streaming website Kick that appeared to show where he had attempted to stream the attack.
May I ask a question? Why is it every time that there's one of these sort of apocalyptic shootings, there's some sort of platform that like I'm not immediately very well versed in that comes up, right? Like I've never used Kick in my life, but it's like I've been through a million of those, and there's always like, okay, I know that place, I know Discord, I've been here, but then I'm like, oh, he's using Kick. Okay, I didn't know they were on there.
It just is like the latest one that hasn't cracked down on far right people that hard, right?
Sure.
So it's like they'll be on Twitch, and then Twitch will like tighten up the rules after something happens. So then they go find another one, and then something happens, and the rules get tightened up, and it's just this game of leapfrog. Kick is kind of the one that they're on at the moment. It's also one of the larger ones. Some of the biggest names in streaming, particularly political right-wing streaming, are using Kick these days. So after thinking, okay, this manifesto, I believe it, this is legit, I've seen enough, I started going through it. And I did what I always do. I start, referencing it against prior manifestos, realized that there were parts taken from the Christchurch one, parts taken from Peyton Gendron's, which was also taken a lot from the Christchurch one.
Yes. And for people who don't know, that's the Buffalo, the top supermarket massacre in Buffalo.
Yeah. And just all this stuff about white supremacist beliefs, just hyper-violent, genocidal desires. It appeared that, before he decided to do what he did, he had gone into accelerationist neo-Nazi spaces online, which are a fringe even among far-right extremists, directing people to terrorgram materials. Terrorgram was recognized by the State Department recently as part of their index of global terrorist organizations.
For now, it's there. That's probably a vestige of the Biden administration.
Yeah, but I think it threw people for a loop initially because this 17-year-old kid that walked into his school, apparently motivated by white supremacist beliefs or hoping to advance just grossly violent, genocidal white supremacist beliefs, was a young person of color.
So the question is, did the people who were in that Discord, did they know he was black?
I don't know. I haven't been able to find and get into that Discord. It very well could not exist anymore. at this point. People might have been scared and just nuked it. It's tragic, man. It's horrible. I mean, he writes in here about growing up as a young black kid and getting radicalized to the point of hating himself on the basis of his race to the point of being suicidal. And then, in some steps that aren't exactly clear, wound up being like, well, if I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to try to kill other people first and do it in the name of this shit that I've been radicalized by. Right. And, people of color in neo-Nazi movements or white supremacist movements or whatever is not new, but this is probably the most extreme case of that. I mean, reading through it, as disgusting and horrible as the views this kid started to believe in were, it was hard not to also just feel sad for him. That
of course, he's 17.
It wasn't just teaching him to hate other people, but to hate himself deeply to the point where he was ready to commit suicide.
What I would say about the whole, I mean, a lot of people have been talking about the sort of the fact that he's black and what does that mean in this kind of this context of this neo-Nazi. When I used to, when I was reporting in India, I used to report, I did a couple stories out of Kashmir, and they used to tell me that, some of the Muslims who had been tortured in Kashmir had been tortured by, soldiers for the Indian army or, who were Muslim themselves. And they said that they were the most vicious of all the people who would torture. And I bring that up only because this stuff is very complex. It's very complex. We see it in the swell of Latinos who support Trump. And many of them may have reasons where they feel like, hey, I came in legally, and I'm not talking about that necessarily, but over the willingness to overlook the dehumanizing rhetoric because for some other purpose. This is obviously a much more extreme example of that. But I think we have to look beyond the sort of the binary, black white type of thing here.
It's terrible, and as is the case with a lot of these school shooters or even a lot of people who end up acting on accelerationist violence, I think it's also important to stress that for these movements and these pockets that produce these attacks, the violence is the point, first and foremost.
100%.
The ideology is a justification. You and I were talking this week. I think it gave both of us like some mild flashbacks to, the 2019 mass shootings or it just felt like, especially during the Trump years, but not only during the Trump years, I'll be clear. These were just kind of like periodically happening for a while. It was like every few months, another instance almost exactly like this. And some of which are cited in the manifesto for this incident were occurring.
Well, the top supermarket shooting in Buffalo happened during the Biden years, but it had the feel of, it sort of felt like being at the tail of that wave of shootings that started with the Tree of Life attack, really, on October 27, 2018. Because that happened, and if you remember, it was right around the time that Trump was pushing his caravan rhetoric, and then Fox News was going full bore with that, right? Everything was like, well, the caravan is coming. It was not a very effective push in the midterms, ultimately, for them. But it did rile up a lot of extremists. And the first one was Bowers and carrying out the Tree of Life terror attack in Pittsburgh. And then we had a whole series of shootings that took place in 2019. The El Paso shooting in Texas, for example, which I think a lot of people almost forget about but it was completely horrific. It was two dozen people. And the guy's manifesto was just like copy pasta of like Republican rhetoric. And then the Buffalo shooting took place during the Biden years. And it's not who was president or anything like that, but it felt like the end of that sort of great replacement cycle for a bit, and felt more isolated. And I think I do not blame Trump for this, but I do think that when there is talk of retribution in the air and the rhetoric is really, really hard hitting, and there's a lot of scapegoating and demonization, people who are predisposed to commit some kind of act of violence feel like this is the time. They get excited by that, whether it's conscious or unconscious.
That, and I think it generally desensitizes the public to even more extreme cases like this. I mean, with the news cycle shit show that has been Trump 2, even in its first week, this has barely made a blip on the national radar.
True.
In fairness to big national outlets, police have been really tight-lipped about it while they're looking at these documents. That may change if the Nashville chief of police gives a press conference and says, we think these are real. Then that might be the latch holding things up at the national outlets. So I want to make that caveat. I've worked in media. I know how these things go sometimes, especially at a time where, you have an administration kind of swinging their sword around in front of news outlets, which are not exactly cash-rich businesses and can have very timid lawyers. But to me, I mean, I'm like you. I don't blame Trump for this one. And frankly, like, this accelerationist stuff is rooted in right-wing extremism, but exists like a mile past it. Your extremist podcasters and shit posters or whatever, like, this is many, many steps further down the road from them in a territory that 99% of them will not go.
It's like a hallucination of life. It's like a different, it's like no conception of life that any of us have in any way. And then when you see people just living in it online, if you go to their Telegram accounts or whatever and stuff like that, you're like, oh my God. It's like, what is the, like, it's total squalor, of the mind. It's just, we used to have, before the Trump years and all these great replacement shootings used to have, there was a ton of shootings during the Obama years, tons of them. And they were all like weird and like made no sense. If you recall, there was that guy in Colorado who went into a movie theater at during the screening of Dark Knight Rises and killed people, right? Because he thought he was a Joker. I feel like what changed is that these people who are looking for a justification to do their violence found something in this great replacement, this narrative, this myth, this story that whites were being eliminated and being destroyed in their homelands. And they began to take their, I'm the Joker, I'm going to kill people, and just, invest it into this because it gives a sense of purpose, a higher purpose. And then there will be people who will see the shooting and say, thank you for furthering this cause, which is they wouldn't have the other way around.
Maybe people won't think I'm a monster for doing this. Maybe there will be some people who applaud it even or make me a hero. It's really sick stuff. But I do think what's happening in mainstream politics is directly relevant.
Yeah.
In the Trump years, the Trump administration, even during Trump 1, was telling DHS and the FBI, don't go after, they're not saying don't go after any right-wing extremist movements, but they essentially were arguing to them, this isn't the priority, right? Or like this is like kind of political in a lot of cases. You really need to really pick and choose your fights here.
Yes, 100%.
And from chatter of nominees, from people who have already been appointed, it kind of feels like that vibe is coming back to the federal government. And with the pardon of pretty much every January 6th participant and the commutation, or is that the tense commutation? He commuted the sentences of a handful of others. He wrote literal get out of jail free cards for all these people.
Commutation, yes.
And
I'm going with yes.
If anything is going to be a go signal, if anything's the green light for these movements to just go harder and deeper, it's hard to imagine it's not that, right?
Yeah.
At the very least, the most diplomatic here. Putting on my diplomacy bipartisan hat real quick.
Oh, no.
This is not helping the situation.
That hat looks terrible on you. It's like Melania's hat. Yeah, well, what I would say is, what I would say, I'll just do real quick because, we'll move to another segment, but I think you're 100% right. We had Patriot Front marching, around the March for Life event today. Yes, they've done that in the past, but they seem pretty emboldened today. And then you have stuff like Charles Bousman, which I highlighted on Blue Sky. Bousman was, he came to the U.S. From Russia, and he provided all kinds of assistance to neo-Nazis and anti-government extremists. And then after January 6th, fled to Moscow, just disappeared, which seemed to me it's something that you would do only if you had a lot to hide. And without going too much deeper into it, because I plan on doing some writing about it, I mean, he says that he's coming back to the U.S. now, so he feels safer to do that. And you would assume that people in the government had some interesting things found about Bousman. I know I had received calls about him in the past. People took notice of about a guy who had a barn and was hosting neo-Nazis in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and then showed up at the Capitol and then disappeared.
Yeah,
and it's scary that he feels he's like, he's like, it's our national nightmare is over. I'm coming home.
Speaking of going home, Mike, you went to the inauguration. You told us last week you were going to go take the official vibe check. What's the verdict, Mike? How is the vibe? What's the vibe?
Well, I had a lovely time with friends in DC while I was there. So my own vibe was great. The people there seemed extremely happy about Trump, even though almost none of them got to see him. It was just a very small fraction of the people who were there. It was a stark reminder that this Trump stuff is not going to just go away. And it's not going to go away if there's an economic collapse necessarily. I mean, we cannot take for granted that people are going to all of a sudden turn on Trump so easily. And I say that because, I spoke to so many people, and so many people told me that there's nothing that Trump could do to turn them off, that they are just permanently on board the Trump train. And that's what you would expect. But I think it is representative of a big enough section of his base that we're really only fighting for the hearts and minds of a small percentage.
Yeah, and you actually brought some audio clips back of some of that. I'm going to play some here in a minute. Mike, you recorded these outside of the arena. So these were people who had traveled to DC hoping to watch the guy they voted for get elected, and then were literally left in the cold.
They were left in the cold. I had people from Hawaii, people from California, people from Florida, people from Canada. I mean, they came from everywhere, and they didn't get to see Trump. They didn't get to see their boy Elon Musk. They didn't get to do anything except freeze. And when I say freeze, I mean I was wearing the amount of layers that I was in order to stay. I'm also pretty. I'm a huge wimp with the cold. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But it was completely brutal. I had a face mask on most of the time, and I had to take it down when I was talking to them because I didn't want to look like Antifa. It was freezing.
To add to the cold, it was also quite windy. So listeners, you might hear a bit of ruffling. That is the wind blowing in your already below freezing temperatures.
What would have to happen in the next 4 years for you to change your opinion about Trump? If something you like, what would he do? What would he have to do to go off course for you?
Of course, there's nothing off course about that man. That man is on course.
So you feel like no matter what he does in the next 4 years,
what he does, everything he does is do it for the country. He doesn't do it for himself. He has everything he needed. He's got a beautiful family. He's got the money, all the money in the world. What else he needs? All he's doing is just speak on behalf of the people that don't have no voice and do the best he can for the future of the kids, the family, our country, our future of our kids, our grandkids, and our grandkids, and our country. God, Trump, and country. That's it. Aloha.
Well, I wrote in my newsletter about this Mexican-American couple that drove all the way from California. And, I did the math and it was nearly 3,000 miles basically by car, and they didn't get in. They didn't get into the arena for his victory rally, and they didn't get in for the inauguration, and they were left standing on the streets. And I think that whole thing is just kind of emphasized to me my original point of just how difficult it's going to be to disentangle people from Trumpism. That kind of commitment you only see maybe for Taylor Swift. And then, there was a family that came down as a family. And I asked them, what are you into? What's your main motivation? It was really like Riley Gaines focused. So basically like trans stuff, trans bathroom stuff. And that's, to me, I got to say, I think the obvious point with all trans stuff is what business is this of yours really? Like what do you really care about this?
Right.
I mean, it's but I think the deeper thing is when you have a 15-year-old girl with you and you're kind of raising her to be, a turf, to use the parlance.
That slur?
Yes, that slur. But if you're doing that, it's like, man, she's 15 years old. She's never met a trans person in her entire life. And I did not want contentious interviews here. And I really just didn't want to spoil somebody's time by being a huge dick and asking, questions or so how many trans people do you know or anything like that. I wanted to, let them have their fun. And I just want to hear what they're about, because I just feel look, I'm not I'm not here to make fun of people or do anything, but now that I'm here, I can tell you with certainty that young girl has never met a trans person. And yet she's down there because of her parents, who are motivated by this anger over trans people. Their parents probably never met any trans people. Right. So the whole thing is kind of a mutation of this Fox News right-wing swamp social media come to life, where it's an issue that does not impact your life, your material interests in any way. And yet this is when I ask you, why do you love Trump so much? And your answer is basically trans. He knows the difference between a man and a woman.
So policies, number one of my biggest things as a parent is I feel that a girl should be a girl and a boy should be a boy. This indoctrination of this transgender is just it's ruthless. It's ruthless. A person's brain doesn't really matriculate until they're 25, 26. So that's one of my biggest things as a parent.
And the last little batch of interviews you brought back, what stood out to me was the international presence, a German guy with the most German name I've ever heard.
He's a fan of AfD party, which is the extreme far right anti-immigrant party. There are parties who are more closely aligned with neo-Nazism. Sometimes people say AfD is a neo-Nazi party and stuff like that. There are associations with people who are in the very, very hard, extreme fringe, hard hate, whatever. But AfD is a dark extremist party that has been gradually gaining steam and making themselves, more gaining broader acceptance in Germany over time. And it's a big cultural conflict. If you go, I was in Germany in summer of 2023, and it's you'll see stickers that say "fuck AfD," written like you would write Run DMC or something. Yeah. All over the place. But it is where it is the fight that we're having over there, and the most important thing of it is to note, and I am not convinced necessarily that AfD is further to the right than our Republican Party at this point. Because I think we're in denial sometimes of how extreme, this party is this party is tethered around people like Matt Walsh. These are not moderates. This is not, this is not the O'Reilly factor anymore. He's not a moderate either. But the times have changed is my point. The important thing to know about AfD is that Elon Musk has signaled support for AfD. And I really, I should have asked the guy, because I was wondering, did you notice that? What did that do for your cause at home? And I wish I had asked them that then, but I was so surprised to be talking to him in the first place that I wasn't able to think on my feet.
Who do you support back home in Germany?
I cannot say.
You can't say why. AFD?
Yes.
AFD party? Okay. What part of Germany do you live?
Wesel, Netherrhein, Nordrhein-Westfalen.
And you feel that Trump is kind of like, might work well with the AFD party?
Actually, as I told you, the only thing what is really for me interesting, he promised to stop the war. And that's what I'm looking forward, to stop this war.
To stop the war
in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The second thing was the Canadians. I believe they're from Saskatchewan, and they were some kind of there's some big boys, husky boys, and they were dressed in full Canadian gear. Not even Canadian gear. They were wearing suits that had maple leaves on them. So just to let everybody know where they were from.
I just can't imagine going to Canada and decking myself out in the Liberal Party suit and being I love liberal politicians in Canada, and that is what I'm all about.
The equivalent would be going to London, for some sort of Labour Party function, dressed head to toe in a suit with red, white, and blue stripes and like an Uncle Sam top hat. But just quickly on these guys, because they're not worth too much. I mean, it's bizarre. It just shows you the power of Trump. It's this weird magnet for certain people. But we've seen the sort of the fall of Justin Trudeau as a public figure, and this kind of opening for a space for a far right government in Canada. And this is just another reminder that these people see this as a global movement, right? It's it's the Steve Bannon worldview, where we sort of bring far right people from every single place, make them isolationist and whatever. They're very attracted to Trump. They see Trump as a savior.
Yeah, no. You say the team we put together.
Yeah, should help him run the country properly. I think he's putting people in positions that are really know what to do.
What did you think about him saying make Canada the 51st state?
Well, it's interesting. It sure caught on. That's for sure.
Interesting for sure, but it would certainly change your life quite a bit.
It would, yeah. So we'll see what happens here, I guess. So, yeah, we're open for anything, I guess, right now. So we've got our own issues, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, is it dissatisfaction with your own government at home? Is that some inspiration for why you're
That's the main reason for sure. Yeah. Yep. 9 years of a pretty poor government has really hurt the country a lot. So we're really honestly open for any kind of option right now.
All right.
So thanks for bringing home those interviews for us to listen to. Folks, check out Mike's new Substack. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be, so what I would love to be able to tell you is that I'm going to update it every XYZ days or something like that. But I'm not charging for it. I moved to Substack from Ghost because it doesn't cost money and it's integrated with other people. I am aware of all the bad people on Substack. Peter Brimlow of VDR just started a Substack. I know about it. I did not like doing it, but I'm there now. And I think it's Michael Edison Hayden is the Substack, but the name I'm calling it Extreme Measures, which is I guess a little bit of a pun, on extremism. But I mean, extreme times call for that. I'm going to be doing mostly news analysis and a scoop here or there. But to do investigative reporting, sometimes it is beneficial to have lawyers. So for that reason, I may move my investigative work to different outlets and work in a more traditional manner. But news analysis, and you'll be able to read my work up until when my new book comes out, which will probably be in 2026. And that's it. I mean, no more than that.
Cool. I'll put a link to it down in the description of this episode. Mike's got a write-up about the inauguration. It's worth your time. Trump was sworn in for his second term. Already some dumbass in the House has introduced a constitutional amendment so he can have a third. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. But the show was practically stolen by a, whatever we're calling it now, awkward gesture that Elon Musk made at the podium before Trump came on stage. Awkward gesture.
Was he clothed?
hand sign or salute resembling.
So like a salute, like he raised his hat to his forehead and he sing loud to the army.
Not quite. He put his hand sort of near his chest, shoulder, and then threw it straight up in the air at, a more or less 45-degree angle. Right. So I don't know what was going through his head, right? Like during his speech, he's saying, "My heart goes out to you." And he's such a weird, dysfunctional kind of guy. He might have genuinely been trying to like emphasize that line, "My heart goes out to you," and like hand on my heart going out to you, to the crowd and sticking his hand out. It may have just fucked it up in the worst possible way. But if he was trying to make him a Nazi salute, it would look exactly the same, right? So I almost don't know if trying to think about what was in his head or like if he meant to do it or not, it's almost irrelevant at this point because we already know what he thinks. He's very open about his own beliefs and his own affinities for far-right political movements. And it still created the image that it did, which is a powerful one. And
it's already been integrated into all these different like meme videos and things like that where there's like, Germans marching behind him and stuff like that.
It still had a profoundly horrifying effect for a lot of people, right? And whatever was in his heart or what was not in his heart, to me, almost doesn't matter. And trying to like be too confident about that, be like, well, he was obviously trolling, or he was obviously this, or clearly he was doing that. And it seems like it's just like getting over the skis a little bit, or like losing the forest for the trees, right?
Well, I think what you're sort of saying, if I may read into it, what you're sort of saying is like what he has shown already is as bad or worse than whatever this was.
If he purposefully did a Nazi salute, would we learn anything new about his politics? I'm halfway joking here, right? But like,
yeah, when this first happened, we talked about possibly debating it and stuff like that. But I don't see him like, it's passed a little bit. But I will share my point of view as to why I think he did it intentionally. And again, this is speculation, and that's what you do on podcasts. So I'm going to tell you why I think he did it intentionally. My heart goes out to you. I have never said my heart goes out to you to anyone. It's a bizarre thing to say. And it just seems like if I were trying to do a Nazi salute that winks to my weird fans and get away with it, like that's the type of bullshit I would make up. I was trying to say my heart goes out to you, but why does he turn around and spin and do it again? It's extremely weird. Again, I don't know his intention. But I will say that my heart goes out to you. When the fuck have I ever spoke? I've never. My heart goes out to you, and
it's like when a kid gets in trouble, and you're like, "What did you just say?" And like, well, "No, what I said was
yes.
I said fudge you because I want to give you a piece of candy, Dad."
100%. And this is what I thought when I saw it. I thought that he's like, oh my God, I'm going to totally do this. And he's like, and then I'll tell him this. And some people will get mad and whatever. And and then was shocked out of his shoes as to how many people, freaked out about it. Because to him, I'm sure fascism is not a big deal. He's a big fan of what he's a big fan of. He lets everybody know every day on Twitter. As my father said about him, he's an asshole who wants everybody to know he's an asshole. And I really think that is the way he runs things. And what does a Nazi gesture actually mean? Because you can't build a white nationalist United States. It's just not going to have it's you can't do it.
You're a little late for that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. I mean, you get Richard Spencer, he'll tell you the same thing. They can't do it. Right? They could maybe carve out a little one for themselves somewhere if things all broke down and whatever balkanization that Nazis talk about. Maybe, I guess, but you can't. What would it signify other than to let people know I'm an asshole, I'm a fascist, and I hate people. I mean, to me, now again, it's speculation. It's a podcast.
Mike, before we go, You sent this to me the other day. This is
Oh,
a
did I?
column from, one of our favorite writers. We just wanted, we thought we would end this episode starting off, the inaugural Posting Through It reading series. This is from columnist Libby Emmons.
Well, I got to tell people who Libby Emmons is, because not everybody knows who Libby is, because she's like a very small fry in this. So Libby was, so if you don't even know, I was a playwright. That's where I came out of school. I was writing plays, and I know firsthand there's no money in it, and even less than journalism, and it's a tough go. But so I say that sympathetically to Libby, because she herself was a playwriting student. I had a friend who was who used to teach her, and she wrote these plays that were, I can't remember, this is like Susie is a gangbang Muppet or something, like these insane titles that were like really like filled with profanity or whatever it was. Again, I'm not judging that either. I'm all for that. I want free expression here. And her early Twitter account was all like the pink pussy hat variety of stuff. And it was like, fuck Trump and, this thing, that, and the other thing. And then she started writing, like freelancing for like the Federalist or whatever. And then noticed that like, hey, this is like something that people will let me do.
I actually got paid my $200 on time. Wow.
Right. And she was like, was she the editor on the Post Millennial at first? Is that what it was?
It was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was kind of like, imagine being Andy No's flunky. That's kind of like what this poor person had signed up to do as an alternative to playwriting or being a liberal. And watching her descent into this far right stuff has been very funny to me. And I will say, I believe, she has a kid, whatever. I mean, I'm sure there are money needs or whatever, but to kind of like latch yourself onto Andy No and Jack Posobiec is some of the funniest. I mean, it's funny to me to watch her write about it and her mental gymnastics about why her life is meaningful.
Yeah, well, that's the impression anytime I watch her, right? Which is thankfully not often, but if she's on,
she's on Tim Pool's
show or whatever,
she's a regular Tim Pool guest.
It's just very contrived. You can almost see in her eyes that she's in too deep, and she's like thinking through what she thinks the correct answer is here, or like,
right? Yes. Well, but the one issue that she'd like to latch onto, of course, this is the one where it's like was the is the whole turf stuff, right? Because she can kind of hold on to this. Wait, isn't it? I'm a feminist. That's how I got into this. And so this is like, this is the one issue where I can say like, what about women? What about women? Like where you can say this, because the rest of it is, of course, women having their rights stripped and denied like every single turn.
Yeah. And what's her reward for that? It's like whatever peanuts the Post Millennial is paying, and a very limited amount of online reply guys that follow her around the internet and just go, what a MILF. Clearly do not care about anything she says.
A guy who looks like Kingpin from Spider-Man with like one bulging eye, and he's like, ma'am, you look wonderful today. That's what her replies are like.
Oh, man. Oh. This is
anyway.
I'll go back to my Southern upbringing and just say bless her heart. But we've got a great column from her today. This one's called MAGA Meme Warriors Take a Victory Lap with the Coronation Ball, celebrating the Trump-inspired cultural ascendancy. This was published in Human Events, which
merged with the Post Millennial.
Which merged with I don't understand why they're still two separate sites. They publish a newsletter called the Poso Brief. You can get a newsletter from the Navy Intelligence Unit's best urine analyst.
Poso Brief. I'm gonna change. I should change my newsletter to the Hayden Brief.
The Hayden.
Anyway. I wasn't at the Deplorable Ball in 2016 when the MAGA faithful celebrated the inauguration of the man they memed into the White House. I wasn't there when Antifa militants caused chaos outside. I wasn't even on the Trump train back then. Instead, I'd been at the Women's March with the women of my feminist theater collective when Linda Sarsour preached her anti-Semitic nonsense to a gullible crowd in a knit pink kitty hats, and Madonna said something about blowing up the White House.
Time out. I gotta.
Yes.
What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words into the story. There's a factual error. The Deplorable Ball was in 2017.
Someone messaged me about it and said that Sarsour didn't say anything anti-Semitic at this crowd.
No,
I didn't look into that. But whatever. And Madonna said something about blowing up the White House. I was making experimental plays when the meme wars began. Now, first red flag. Okay, she's talking about the meme wars like it's a thing. What are the meme wars, Jared? What, like, just in short, what is it? What do they think it is?
They think Trump was elected because they posted really good.
Right.
And when journalists were like, "Sir, that's not true," they would reply to them with a photo of Pepe the Frog spreading his butt cheeks at them.
So yes, that is what the meme wars. That's what she's elevating here. She's talking. By the way, she's referring to the meme wars like it's the Vietnam War. So I can't compare back then to this year, but Mike Cernovich can. He and Jack Posobiec threw that ball, and they were both there this year to celebrate the hard-fought win just one night before Donald Trump took office as the 47th president of the United States, only the second president ever to win a second term after ceding the White House to an interim president. The current... This is too boring. But I do need to, like, before I say it's too boring, let me just quickly just note that she goes on for a while talking about what Posobiec wore, what Mike Cernovich wore.
Like, half of this piece is just like descriptions of outfits. It's like Jack Posobiec's there in his best Men's Warehouse sales rack suit.
I got to read this part because it is. It's just, the prose is so bad, and it's just it's completely inexplicable as to who this is for. A custom-made gold MAGA necklace adorned Sarah Hunt. How about Sarah Hunt wore it? Who wore an Andre Soriano original Gadsden flag dress. Yellow, strapless, with a black sequin snake coiling from hem to bodice. The dress was emblazoned with the words, "Don't tread on me," around the flounce. I
also sometimes in Microsoft Word do the right-click synonym thing. if I need something a little bit more flowery. And all I can say is game recognized game here.
Good game recognized game. I'm going to skip ahead some more because this is some real brain melting stuff. During the Revolution, American women eschewed British-made clothes, though those were the highest quality, and began spinning their own yarn, weaving their own fabric, and making their own dresses and gowns. The material was coarser, the fashion less sophisticated in nature, but it was authentically American in a way that set up the nationalist culture that has infused that great gray area, written with an E, between political statement and cultural relevance. In the Confederate South during the Civil War, is she a neo-Confederate now? The Southern women did the same thing.
This paragraph could have stopped,
Rather than buy goods from their northern adversaries, where mills were a roaring enterprise.
It's so funny to muse on this, like in an event where almost everybody, is because this was a high dollar ticket event. Like everyone there, is up their own ass about like the bespoke Italian and Spanish textiles that were, flown to Indonesia and sewn together according to their measurements. And like,
yes,
no article of clothing there was made in the United States. I can almost promise you that.
So hold on. But because the women of MAGA have done their own version of homespun, And while they're not spinning their own wool into yarn, they are creating fashion from without the fashion industry.
From without. Huh?
Okay, sorry. I gotta. I'm being unprofessional
On the show.
Okay, we got the Red Scare women here. Anna and Dasha. She's talking about their
slinky black gowns.
Okay.
Readers, I'm sorry. This thing is like so fucking long. Mike and I are just.
It's extremely long.
If we tried to read the whole thing, it could have been in its own episode.
So, gonna read this part. So she uses the words net art here, which I believe is what she's talking about. Her like memes of Pepe the Frog showing his asshole to reporters. That's what she's talking about with net art. For those of us steeped in 20th century notions of artistic enterprise. What about art? Just call it art. Net art can be disorienting. It's authorless or driven by anon accounts. It's memeified. It builds on itself. It is a perpetual series of inside jokes where consumers can track back to the beginning and still feel like they're missing something essential. The essential is the ephemera, the layers of concepts, influences, and references. She is, as far as I can tell, referring to like Groyper memes.
Yeah. I think so. And also there's like this weird subculture that's part of the like Dime Square extended universe. Listeners, if you don't know what that is, just fast forward like 30 seconds right here. But they have these like NFTs called Miladies. Like I'm Milady, and it's like a parody of e-girls as EFTs on the Soldano or Solando, whatever the fuck the name of that.
Solano?
That blockchain is. And it's like...
whatever that bullshit is, yeah.
That was like the irony-poisoned Bored Apes NFTs.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, and you know, I mean, it's not theater. It's just a kind of a hipster, you know, culture. It's a kind of hipster wannabe thing, essentially, from what I can understand. Let's skip ahead here because boy, this is long. It wasn't just the fashionistas that were left out during the suppressive, oppressive regime of not only the Biden administration, but the woke, politically correct culture that preceded his White House win. But artists, authors, people who eschew bullshit term content creator. What? Okay. Skipping ahead, the Trump win signals the, quote, post-cancel era. It's true. Leftists can keep canceling each other, but for those who refuse to be canceled, who, when doxxed, stand up and say, yeah, fuck you, that's me, the threat of cancellation is meaningless. Instead, the artists, the cultural heralds operating in the anon spaces prefer to lead private lives while speaking out like Publius for the betterment of the nation, for the furtherance of creation, for the sheer fun of it. This is difficult. This is a difficult piece. So yeah, I mean, basically they want to, Libby, in order to justify who she is now and like how badly she's sold out, she is trying to turn time waste shitposts into something akin to Picasso.
And in the prior section, it's a lot of like puffy language that you would find in like a freshman's essay about Nietzsche or something.
Yeah.
But ultimately kind of admits that like there's no point to it, where it's like you can look at it and still be like, what the fuck is this? Which good art does, and also really bad art also does. It's like a bad way to categorize art. Like just because it's confusing and puzzling doesn't. Yeah, I will stop there before going too deep on my art opinions. But
Trump is not known for having good taste, and the movement around him is not known for having good taste, to put it mildly. Right?
Yeah.
And I realize that the counter to that is to be like, well, Hayden, you snob, you can't appreciate. And what I will say as a counter to that is that Trump is very good at entertaining his fans, right? And he's very good at providing a carnival or a circus. But no one has ever confused those things, the circus for the opera. right? They're very different things. And either you embrace the circus or quite frankly get lost, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not really interested in hearing you justify your demonization of people, based on these fake higher values that you claim to have.
Well, they want to pretend that their memes are art. For me, it's hard to make that argument in an essay where earlier you have described in meandering detail a "don't tread on me" flag dress.
The sexiest thing. I've always been waiting to find a woman who wore one of those.
I've just never been able to find one in my size, but my butt's too big. I'm sorry. All right, Mike, bring us home.
Sure.
Again, we cannot possibly read all of this, but I think the closing paragraph, it's hard not to get your heartbeat going listening to this.
And here we are. Trump was canceled, and he has ascended to the throne of global power. The memesters and net artists do not reveal their public names. By the way, a public name. But their authorship of the movement has transformed the political and cultural landscape. And for myself, now having attended the Coronation Ball when only 8 years ago I was ensconced with the pussy hat wearers on the National Mall, then canceled over trans just 1 year later. She just refers to canceled over trans.
The trans got me.
I'm going to make bumper stickers that just say canceled over trans. Just 1 year later, now serving as a writer of right-wing cultural influence. Oh my God. A writer of right-wing cultural influence. I can attest to that fact. My guess is that next time, anyone will be able to buy a Gadsden flag dress off the rack and will be able to go out into the world with the face of our own avatars.
Wow. That's why I voted for Trump, because I can't find this Gadsden flag dress in my size, and I'm sick of it.
I mean, if this thing ends like other right-wing populist movements have in the past, they will not be able to go outside in those dresses, actually. But anyway.
Oh, man. See, like, when I write something, usually like a good final test of the draft for me is to read it out loud. And yeah. We read some of it out loud, but I would love to hear Libby read this out loud.
She should do the reading.
Yeah, we should have her on the next one.
Third mic.
Just one more thing before we get out the door. Trump has been drawing some criticism for launching his own cryptocurrency surrounding the inauguration.
That's completely unfair.
Trump coin. Trump coin, Trump coin.
Let the man have his coin.
Yeah, he so I guess like when this debuted, it was like valued fairly high as far as cryptocurrency like meme coins go, I guess. It got as high as $75 per Trump coin compared to, like Dogecoin, which is like a fraction of a cent, right? And then fell in value by almost half because he was asked by a reporter, "What's up with the cryptocurrency?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't really know much about that, but yeah, they did that."
What cryptocurrency?
It's like, that seems to be his answer, like for so many questions that reporters have asked him this week, is they're just like, "So what's the deal with like the AI investment thing?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah. Well, I mean, keep in mind, we were talking for a while about Biden's age and everything. He's like the same age Biden was when he took office in the beginning. So this thing could get really weird in a hurry. Because it's already, when he was fully stapled down, he still said things that were completely insane and made no sense. I think it's like a real test of like how stupid people are. And I think, they're answering the bell right now by saying, yeah, we're pretty dumb. Not only investing in that, but right away they see they're making money off of that, and then they flick out a Melania coin. I don't know if you saw that, but there's like a Melania coin too, and it's just like,
and then Ivanka Trump had to clarify. There's a fake Ivanka coin out there. Do not be confused.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm not buying it until it's a Junior coin. That's the one I want.
Yeah.
People forget about Junior. Don't sleep on Junior. His coin's going to really go up.
I think Baron coin is the future.
Baron, yes. He's on the hot list for sure. People love to like cite Baron now all of a sudden because he's so gargantuan that it's like people, can't miss him.
I think I'll close the episode out here just with this quick little clip. Trump was talking about the January 6th committee in relation to the January 6th pardons. He misremembered who was the chair of the January 6th committee, Representative Benny Thompson, and instead criticized right-wing influencer Benny Johnson. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, you've convinced me. These people should be tried for treason. We need Benny Johnson to face the music.
And he's a crooked guy, totally crooked politician. And so he's pardoned, and some other people are pardoned. And these are crooked politicians, every one of them. Benny Johnson, what he did is incredible. I mean, he was the leader of the committee, and he did it. Cheney, crying Adam Kinzinger.
Do you remember when Benny Johnson came out on stage a couple of years ago at one of these TPUSA type events, and it was like the meme wizard has arrived. And it was
yes,
yes. Fireworks and robot voice meme wizard.
Trap music is just like bow, 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 bow.
Man, not if my family was starving. Not if my family was starving.